morning, Bucknutters. Welcome into the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on the final day of April. It is April 30th, 2018. I am Dave Biddle, very happy joined by Alex Gleitman. Alex, the beat goes on for Ohio State recruiting. It's like this staff kind of knows what they're doing when it comes to recruiting and pretty much everything else. Cade Stover becoming the latest one to join the Ohio State family, the outstanding outside linebacker from Mansfield, Ohio, Lexington High School, ranked as the number 8 outside linebacker in the country, number 130 overall player in the country according to the 24/7 Sports Composite, pledged his allegiance to the Buckeyes yesterday. Just your reaction to that, and just talk about what type of player Cade is.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a tremendous pickup for Ohio State, although it's not surprising. I think actually people probably thought it was going to happen a lot sooner, but, Cade just wanted to make sure of his decision. He's always kind of had Ohio State at the top of his list since they offered. But, this is a kid who's an outstanding high school linebacker. He's a tremendous athlete. He plays basketball as well and led his team to the state championship this year. He's played safety. He's played a number of different positions on the field. He's probably a linebacker, potentially defensive end at the next level, depending on where his body takes him. But just a tremendously gifted player, sensational athlete that Ohio State's getting, willing to put his body out there and make some physical plays and get his nose dirty and just everything you would want from an outside linebacker, a potential defensive end at Ohio State.
And the Buckeyes got 2 commitments over the weekend. Of course, Bryson Shaw actually committed before Stover did the night before. He committed actually on Saturday. And I know a lot of people, Alex, were surprised about Bryson Shaw. A lot of the fans on our board were like, what's going on here? We'll tell them what's going on. What do they need to know about Bryson Shaw?
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is a kid Ohio State has liked for a long time. He went to the Bosa school in Potomac, Maryland, same school as Dwayne Haskins, so obviously a little bit of a history there. Super athletic kid, lacrosse star, tremendous lacrosse player, could probably go anywhere he wants in the country for lacrosse. He's going to play safety for the Buckeyes. He was committed to Wisconsin for a while and definitely, was set on that pledge. But schools like Ohio State, I think Alabama, a couple others came in and came in with offers and showed interest. He took another look around, and, after seeing the people at Ohio State, and it's a little bit closer to home than Wisconsin. There's no doubt about it. I know that was a little bit of a factor for him, a little bit of a shorter drive there, versus almost, pretty much double the distance to Madison. So that definitely played a factor. But just feeling comfortable with Ohio State, the people there. Alex Grinch, this was kind of his first recruit, so I think that's really significant, both for Bryson Shaw and for Alex Grinch and the Ohio State program. We'll see. 24/7 Sports has him ranked in the top 247, a lot higher than the composite, which has him at 660. 24/7 has him at 230 overall. I think when push comes to shove and people see this kid on the field this year, he's going to be a lot closer to where 24/7 has him. And I think Ohio State feels that way as well, which is why they took him when they did.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you about that. I mean, it reminds me a little bit of Master Teague. Now, Master Teague was ranked higher than Bryson Shaw when Teague committed to Ohio State, but it was like Master Teague, like 24/7 Sports, our in-house rankings were way ahead of the curve as far as Master Teague, and Bryson Shaw is even, ranked much lower than Teague was, and it feels like, he's, very underrated when you look at his composite score, but it does look like it's just a matter of the other outlets kind of catching up to what we see at 24/7 Sports.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just a matter of a lot of people haven't seen the kid play that much, and he's in an area that's there's good football down there. Don't get me wrong, but it's not a heavily covered area the same way Florida or Ohio or Texas or California are, where there's just football nonstop and events nonstop. Even in a colder state like Ohio, where there's things indoor that people are going to and covering and whatnot. I just don't think people have been exposed to Bryson Shaw the same way that they have at some of the other prospects in the country. So I think eventually things will catch up there. But, again, Wisconsin took him super early, and then Ohio State taking him this early in the process. It shows you that they think he's absolutely a player.
And, Alex, we just got some news here as we were recording the show here Sunday night. Garrett Wilson has committed to the Buckeyes. I mean, the beat goes on. Breaking news here on the show, so to speak. Everybody knows about it now that they're listening to the show. But breaking news for us, Garrett Wilson committing to the Buckeyes. Your reaction?
Absolutely huge pickup for Ohio State. Again, not super surprising. He's been down to the Buckeyes in Texas now for about a month at the very least, and that's officially. But he took his official to Ohio State for the spring game. Tom Herman had his chance a week later and actually had him push his decision off a few days, about 5 days or so. He was supposed to do it on Wednesday. He now does it on Sunday evening. But he ended up deciding he was going to return home to Columbus. This is a kid who's now at Austin Lake Travis High School. He used to be a Dublin native, so he grew up around the Buckeyes. It's kind of where he always wanted to play growing up as a kid, and Ohio State just did a tremendous job connecting with him. Everyone from Kevin Wilson to Urban Meyer to Ryan Day to Zach Smith, and of course Mark Pantoni probably starting it all off. And you have to give some credit to Matthew Baldwin, his quarterback last year. They're good friends, and they have a great connection. And I know Matt did a ton of recruiting of Garrett to Ohio State. So hats off to the Buckeyes. They get the number 8 player overall in the 24/7 Sports rankings, the number 29 player in the composite, a 5-star kid, one of the top receivers in the country, if not the top receiver. And he's going to be a big-time player. Absolutely huge pickup to keep the momentum rolling on I guess now what's a trifecta perfect weekend for the Buckeyes.
Yeah, what a weekend. Amazing. Do you think the coaching staff saw this coming, that this would be, as you called it, the trifecta weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how things went down with Bryson Shaw. I don't know if they said, we kind of need to know now and whatnot, or he just made that decision. I think that one could have been a surprise. I think Cade Stover, they knew the relative timeline on that one, and I think obviously, Garrett Wilson announced on, I think it was maybe Friday or Saturday, that he was going to make this announcement on Sunday evening. So, I think they knew they were in a good spot with Stover. I think they felt pretty confident on Garrett Wilson. Bryson Shaw was a guy that may have been a little bit of a pleasant surprise for them, but they're certainly happy to get this class moving. And now they have 9 guys, probably about 16 more spots, give or take, to go the rest of the way. And they certainly have momentum rolling into June.
Heck yeah, they do. Throw some names at me. Who are guys that are at least in the running to be next in this class? I'm not going to hold you to it. Just who are guys that are in the running to be next in this class?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they just hosted Grant Gunnell, quarterback from Texas, on his official visit to campus. And I know that this visit was just as big for Ohio State as it was for the Gunnell family. It was his mom's first time on campus, and from all accounts, things went well. I personally think he's going to be their quarterback in this class. I think he could be next to commit potentially. I wouldn't be surprised if a fast pledge, was turned around on that one. So he's definitely a guy I'm looking at. Harry Miller's another. He's probably going to try to hold off until about the middle of the summer when he leaves for his mission in Nicaragua. He's going to go down there and do some community work, but I think he wants to make a decision right before that. But I feel pretty good about Ohio State there. In-state offensive lineman Zeke Correll. It's probably going to be the Buckeyes or Notre Dame. He's from Cincinnati, and that decision could come in the next few months. Those are 3 guys I'm definitely watching. There's a number of other players. Luke Deal, a tight end from South Carolina, is set to make his decision at the end of May. I know Ohio State had him on an official visit a couple weeks back, and they made an impression, but this one is maybe looking a little bit more like Clemson and Auburn, but we'll see what happens over the next few weeks. But, you never know what's going to happen. As I said, momentum toward June, which is when Ohio State has its 3 one-day camps in the middle of June. I think those are going to be critical for securing a bunch of different, commitments across both 2019 and 2020. So definitely keep your eyes and ears open over the next month to 2 months, because I think that's when a lot of activity for Ohio State recruiting is going to be happening.
And before I let you go, the NFL draft obviously wrapped up on Saturday in what was expected to be a quote-unquote down year for Ohio State. They had 2 first-round draft picks. They had a total of 7 draft picks, all taken within the first 5 rounds. And those 7 draft picks, just tied for the second most of any school in the draft this year. So pretty good for a down year. But, I think with a few exceptions, just a couple exceptions, I thought it worked out really well for Ohio State. It's about as good as you could hope as far as Denzel Ward going 4 overall, Billy Price going in the first round of the Bengals. And good job by the Ohio pro sports teams to finally wake up and realize there's a football factory here in the middle of the state. I thought, Tyquan Lewis went earlier than I expected. Jerome Baker went about where I expected. Sam Hubbard might have slipped a little bit, but still a good fit. I thought Jalen Holmes went a little bit earlier than I expected. I thought he'd be a 4th rounder, but maybe mid to late. Jamarco Jones is the one guy that I thought slipped way too far, and then it was disappointing that Damon Webb didn't get drafted, and it was disappointing, although not surprising, that J.T. Barrett didn't get drafted. But just, your thoughts on the NFL draft. I thought overall, from an Ohio State perspective, it went almost as well as it could have.
Yeah, I think it went well. I think they were probably hopeful maybe like 10 of their 14 potential guys were going to get picked. And, I think, as you said, Damon Webb was one multi-year starter at Ohio State. I thought he had a pretty good year last year, and I think they were there was talk. Some teams were telling him they might take him in like as early as the 4th round. So I think there was definitely a little bit of disappointment there. I think Chris Worley, another guy, 2-year starter at Ohio State, maybe they were hoping he would go later. J.T. Barrett, obviously multi-year starter at Ohio State, Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year, captain, et cetera, et cetera. You could rattle off his resume. I think maybe they were hopeful someone would take him in the 7th round. But as you said, push comes to shove. I think they all did pretty well for the most part. I was a little surprised Sam Hubbard slid into the 3rd, or at least as far down even as he did. Jamarco Jones was the big shocker to me. I thought he should have been a 3rd-round pick, if not early 4th, and he went later than I thought he would, and I think he's going to be a 10-plus year starter for the Seahawks or whoever else signs him after that. He's just a rock-solid guy. You can't really find flaws in his game. I know he's not as long and potentially as athletic as you want to tackle in the NFL, but I think he can easily transition to guard. But, Jerome Baker, I think great landing spot for him. I think Billy Price and Denzel Ward going in the 1st round was tremendous. And I think the biggest winner was Tyquan Lewis, the Colts trading up to get him with the last pick in the 2nd round. I mean, I thought he was going to go in the 4th round. I thought he was a 3rd-round talent, but I thought he might slip a little bit to the 4th round, being a tweener of sorts. But the Colts really like him. He was obviously a productive college player, and that's, it's great for him and Ohio State. They get to continue the tradition of solid defensive linemen, going to the pros. And I'm sure Nick Bosa and Chase Young are going to have something to say about that over the next couple of years as well.
No question about that. There's been talk, Adam Schefter, I think, was the first to throw this out there, that he's talked to 2 NFL execs who it's just their prediction that Nick Bosa will be the number 1 overall selection of the 2019 draft. I tend to think somehow it's going to be a quarterback because they get overdrafted. But, Nick Bosa will be drafted, if not first, very early in next year's draft. Raymond Jones is going to be a first-round pick. I have no question about that. Kendall Sheffield could be a guy that works his way in there. But we'll get into that April of 2019. But great stuff, great wisdom as always from Alex Gleitman. Thank you very much, Alex. And thanks to all the listeners out there for tuning into the show. I appreciate it. Hope you have a great day. Let's hear that Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.